1, 2, shake, shake, 1, 2, shake, shake, and then you go 1, 2, shake, shake, 1, 2, shake, shake, 1, 2, shake, 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 apa, shake, shake,
Thank you. Vito is here from. Now, are you from the Saudi Tourist Board or AlUla?
So technically, yeah. So with the Royal Commission for AlUla.
Got it. Okay, Royal Commission. So thank you for correcting me on that.
Of course.
So you have 20 minutes, sir, to tell us about AlUla. And I know you have a fascinating presentation because I saw a little bit of it yesterday. So I am going to stop talking and turn it over to you, Vito, to tell us about AlUla in Saudi Arabia.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And g'day everyone out there. I hope all are doing well. We'll get right into the presentation today. Just a little bit of background. My name is Vito. I've been working with the Royal Commission for AlUla for going on to 4 years now almost. I've had a really good run at being able to see and experience the changes that have been happening in Saudi Arabia since it opened its doors to visitors back in 2019. And it's been, a fantastic journey so far, and we've really seen a lot of change and progress happen with the destination, and very excited to be here presenting it to you today. So just in terms of some basics, I guess, geographically where we're located. Obviously, if you're seeing the presentation clearly, there's the white outline indicates Saudi Arabia. You can fit California 5 times into Saudi Arabia, just to give you some kind of sizing context. But AlUla is in that northwest corner. You can see there the icon. It's actually closer to the border of Jordan and Egypt than it is Riyadh or Jeddah to the south. And so for that reason, a lot of people often ask, what is a good combination when I'm looking at AlUla? Where do I send my travelers who are very adventurous? They're looking for an off the beaten track type itinerary and destinations. And so we like to say that we're in the middle of the Middle East, and so we're very conveniently positioned and located, obviously, as a fantastic 3 or 4 night stay add-on to a Middle Eastern itinerary. And obviously GoAway does a fantastic job of providing different itinerary options for Saudi Arabia and also for the broader Middle East as well. So you can combine obviously AlUla with a Riyadh and Jeddah experience. You can also combine it with a Jordan and Egypt experience, so you're getting quite a fair bit of different countries, different cultures, and also different history and heritage and UNESCO sites along with that. So those pairings work really well. Because of the flights that we've added over the last 12 months or so, we actually have really good connectivity now also coming in from Dubai and Doha. So those provide really good options, particularly if people are looking for a bit of a different contrasting itinerary, shorter stay, perhaps overall. Obviously AlUla is still going to be that important 3 or 4 night stay. There's just really no getting around that in order to ensure that people are seeing and experiencing the essential elements of the AlUla experience. And so this next slide indicates where the flight connectivity is coming from. And as I mentioned, we're right in the middle there. So you've got lots of great connectivity coming into AlUla now from all parts. The flights typically range in an hour and a half to 2 hours, 20 minutes in duration. So there's still a lot of one-stop connectivity with the likes of Emirates, Qatar, Saudia, which includes Toronto now, as well as Flynas, which is like a Southwest for those that haven't heard of Flynas before. It's like a regional carrier. They fly out of Cairo, and Royal Jordanian, obviously, out of Amman in Jordan. So in terms of once you arrive, this is our airport, and it's a international airport. We're actually in the process of upgrading the terminal, so it's going to be a more modern terminal, albeit this one already looks pretty modern. But it's really more just building out the capacity, adding a 5-star property, which I think will be welcome in that location. But once you arrive, you are basically 30 minutes from the resorts. And then from the resorts to the town of AlUla, for instance, the old town, you're about 15 minutes. So once you're at your resort, all of the major heritage areas and sites are within that 15 to 20 minute range. The only exception to that is Garamel, which is the stargazing location. That is an hour drive. We now have 5 stargazing locations, but they're all within that same time frame and proximity. So I'm just going to show you a quick video at home. I hope you can hear it loud and clear just to get the full effect, but it's part of our most recent launch of our campaign called Forever Revitalizing. So I'll just play that for you now.
You may have never met, but she has nurtured humanity for over 7,000 years. An ancient oasis that saw agriculture spring to life. Witnessed the birth of literature and inspired new art forms to flourish. Her promise is to revitalize, always and in all ways. Reviving tradition, welcoming travelers, embracing new ways of thinking, and restoring environments. She is not only breathtaking, but life-giving. Welcome to AlUla.
Right, so there you have that, and it's a fantastic video, and really does showcase a lot of the amazing history and heritage elements. And with that, I think many people ask, what kind of traveller am I targeting to send to AlUla? And quite clearly, we're an off-the-beaten-track destination. We're a destination that has recently opened, so it's for people that are very well-travelled, potentially have been there, done that, and are really looking for a new destination that presents amazing history, heritage, and even archaeological digs that are happening, which we have 15 archaeological digs that are happening in AlUla at the moment. So it really is a destination that is ready-made for people that have that kind of romantic notion of all of those things. And obviously it's a new culture that has opened up again only in the last few years. So for people that are really looking to have that cultural immersion experience, going to AlUla out of all of the locations in Saudi is fantastic, because you're really getting a combination of the people, the culture, the history, the UNESCO sites, all in one, and all can be done in 3 or 4 nights, as I mentioned. But we have, importantly, 4 heritage areas, so those are the ones that are of greatest importance, but obviously there's more to see and do once you're there in AlUla. But I'll just cover off on those essential heritage areas, and starting with Hegra, which is our first World UNESCO site for Saudi Arabia. Now we have probably half a dozen plus UNESCO sites, but this was the first and probably the one of the most important. You can see here different tomb formations, Nabataean style tombs, so similar to what you would find at Petra. And there is the shared narrative and history between AlUla and Hegra. and the tombs at Petra. Once upon a time, Hegra was actually known as the capital of the south, and Petra was known as the capital of the north. And it was all obviously part of a significant trade route from that, begun in Yemen all the way up through to Jordan and Egypt and beyond. So AlUla was an important stopping place because it was a natural oasis, or is a natural oasis, has an abundance of resource, but obviously people also needed a place to bury their social elite, and so the Nabataeans built these style of tombs. We have over 110 tombs just like these in and around this area, so one day normally is dedicated to Hegra and the tombs. Moving over to Dedan to the east, there's a little bit of the tombs are actually carved directly into the rock. This comes from a different time period and is of great importance to AlUla. Adjacent to this area of Dedan, you have also the archaeological dig, so that's of great significance. Jabal Ikma is where you have the largest concentration of inscriptions in the country, and over a dozen languages can be found here, and you can actually walk amongst the inscriptions, and obviously we ask you not to touch the inscriptions, but that can be done, so that it is that immersive experience. And then AlUla Old Town, so this is a fascinating way to experience again the people up close, the mud houses, which were basically being used up until the 1980s. They were there for over 800 years, and now the Commission is actually in the process of restoring these mud dwellings, and off in the distance you can see the fort or citadel, so you can climb up the top on the steps. It's very easy walking, 10 minutes, and you'll actually get an amazing view of the Old Town. And the Old Town's fascinating because it really brings everything together. You've got people using the markets, you've got restaurants, cafes, retail, all are found there, and we've actually just recently opened a new boutique property called Dar Tentora, which is basically replicating the mud house experience obviously in a more contemporary, minimalistic type way. But so now you can actually stay in the Old Town and just stumble out onto the streets and experience life like a local, which is really what it's all about. Elephant Rock here, so just it's a natural rock formation, but one of the more photographed parts of AlUla, along with Moriah, which is our largest mirrored building in the world, which I'll share with you. Garamel, which I mentioned as well, so this is an area where stargazing is obviously best, but we now have other spots that can be offered to people that are visiting, and some can be custom made or tailor-made, and some can be where you're just joining a group, and so it's quite easy to do that as well. And this site, as I mentioned, is 1 hour away, and we've actually just recently opened an adventure hub. So this, I'll just let the video run, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about in terms of adventure product. So that was just a bit of a sample of the different things that you can experience whilst you're there. I actually recently did the zip line, Superman style, and it was fantastic. I mean, it's just an incredible experience. The geology and being able to kind of fly like a bird over the top of that for over a mile was incredible. Just quickly, we've got a massive festival and event program actually that spans typically from September through March, April. So it's quite a long season, and we have a number of different festivals falling under the 5 distinct festival umbrellas. all through the AlUla moment. So the more popular ones are around the AlUla Skies and AlUla Wellness, which AlUla is becoming more well known as a wellness destination. So that's something important to note, and that's just played out here through a number of other marquee events that we either both participation or passive, in that you can actually, more spectator based. So there's just an example of some of the events that are part of those festivals that are going on. And then I mentioned Mariah. So usually Mariah is a centerpiece for a lot of the festivals and events that are happening. Many of the concerts and performances that are happening inside happen here at the Mariah, which does mean mirror in Arabic, but is the largest mirrored building in the world. It's a very impressive structure. When you're there, you really have to look hard to find it. But often, one of the more Instagrammable moments of the visit, for sure. Importantly, we've actually, as part of the festival and event programming, part of what's happened in the destination is we've also become known as a bit of a foodie destination. And that really does range from food trucks all the way up to Michelin star restaurants and everything in between. So definitely one of the biggest surprise elements for me when I first visited, and then was backed up when I subsequently went not that long ago, was just the quality of the food, the presentation, the range, and it was really just a delight to be there and to experience the cuisine. And it really is a mix or a fusion of Middle East and Mediterranean, so a lot of choice for all. You will not go hungry, I promise. And here is just a sampling of some of the restaurants, and so you'll see not all of them are traditional Saudi restaurants or cuisine types. You've got some amazing rooftop venues. You've got some venues like Octo, which is a Greek modern restaurant overlooking all of AlUla Old Town, and it's a spectacular drive to get to the top. There are telescopes and sunken lounges, so you can really soak it in, take your time, have dinner, watch the sunset, and it's a fantastic experience. But I could say that about over half a dozen of these restaurants that I've actually personally been to as well, they all offer something unique and different. And then as we get to the accommodation, we're always looking at where we're going to rest our head at night after a long day out in AlUla, or doing the stargazing, for instance. So you're coming back to some very nice luxury options, which includes Banyan Tree and Habitas. So those are really within the last 2 years they've opened and offer really amazing luxury experiences. They're both different properties. Habitas has more of a kind of a community feel, a lot more, it's more of that disruptive luxury. Banyan Tree is more of the traditional server style, and a lot more opulent, I would say. And so, it really does depend what people are comfortable with, and it's very hard to pick one over the other. But there are some other really good options that fall within that 3.5 and 4-star category. And I know Go Away works quite a bit with Shaden, which I think is a real gem in the area. It was probably the flagship property before the Banyan Tree and Habitas opened its doors, and they've just actually undergone a significant refurbishment of the property as well. I really like this property. It's really well suited for families that are traveling maybe with older children, because it has different room configurations as well. So it has a few more options. It has several restaurants on site. So again, it's a fantastic option. And as I mentioned, there are other options as well, including Cloud 7, which is more for longer stay, and Sahari, which is more Bedouin style. So maybe a little bit more of an authentic and affordable type experience. Dartentora is the property that I mentioned earlier that we opened in the Old Town area just recently, and actually coming up actually early next month, the Chetty Hegra will have a soft opening. So this will be the latest property to be opened, the first boutique property, and the first property actually ever to be opened in and around the Hegra Heritage Site itself. So that will be obviously a real, there will be a real buzz around that opening early next month. And I believe that takes us to the end of the presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
All right. Well, thank you, Vito. Yes. Okay. Don is in the background there. Yep.
Vito, how do clients get to AlUla?
How do they get to AlUla?
Yeah, so I think at the beginning I showed a few slides that does kind of cover the connectivity into the destination. We've gone to great lengths over the last 6 months to add capacity to make sure that there are itineraries that are easily combinable. So for instance, Dubai, we have Emirates and Fly Dubai.
Yep.
We have Qatar via Doha, of course. And on the other side, we've got Flynas out of Egypt, out of Cairo, and then Royal Jordanian out of Amman. I've actually also driven. Personally, I've driven from Egypt to Israel to Jordan down to AlUla via Tabuk, and it was an amazing experience. And to see the change in the destinations, we typically like to fly and get there in the shortest amount of time possible, but I really feel, at least if you're looking at a drive from, say, Jordan down to AlUla via Tabuk, you're going through the Wadi Dissa, which is this beautiful valley. It's lush green, but you have these, the spring water running down into AlUla, because everything runs down into AlUla, being that it is a natural oasis. It's definitely one of those experiences that kind of can be that real X factor, surprise and delight experience. So I wouldn't rule out driving. Going through the doing the border crossings is really way more straightforward than you think. My only advice is for people to have local currency on them, just because there are sometimes, small amounts of money that needs to be exchanged, and you don't want to have to be worried about that when you're at the border. So just some common sense advice, I guess.
Okay. Well, that's interesting, because you mentioned yesterday that you drove.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, that's this seems adventurous, but maybe it's not as adventurous as I have it built in my head.
No, the infrastructure is excellent, and particularly once you're on the Saudi side, they really have their infrastructure worked out really well. So and people generally obey the driving laws and whatnot. So yeah, it's definitely an option, but flying is also a good option.
I've got one last question for you.
Sure.
Yep.
You might have mentioned the presentation, but the dress code.
Sure.
For women.
Look, I mean, and I mentioned it at the start. I think that Saudi Arabia and AlUla has been open only for a few years. There's been great change in the destination. What we tell people that are coming to the destination is more out of respect, is to really dress and cover from shoulder to knee, and that's men and women. Women are not required to cover their face or their hair. You can wear Western clothing. What we find typically is once people arrive, they actually want to go and buy the abayas because they're quite beautiful, and they're almost a fashion piece to bring back. So we find that people, once they're there, they're very surprised about how safe and secure they feel once they're there as well. And I've sent a number of people there on FAMs, doing FIT style FAMs on their own, and they've all come back, raving and looking to find that client that's willing to go back and experience it for themselves.
Yeah. Again, it's being able to offer to your guests something completely out of the norm or not in the mainstream, right?
Correct. Yeah, and I think it's we're not ever going to be a mass market destination, and so I think that is part of the appeal, is that it might just be you and your traveling party at the foot of Hegra and nobody else in sight. So it's really at the moment this pristine, undiscovered destination, and I think again for those people that have got their bucket list, they're well traveled, this is a perfect new option to look at.
Yes. And my final thought, I am boasting about social media, and because I'm talking to advisors all the time, and they're always saying, what should I be posting? Because every day you got to find something new, right? This is another one of those items that kind of fits that off the beaten path. You're going to be the only one talking to folks about this particular destination, about AlUla, about Saudi for that matter.
No, totally agree. And, we would love to hear from people that want to know more about it. We've got a training program. We've just recently sent some Go Away team members to
Yes,
the destination.
that's right.
So we have that
Yep.
expertise now with Go Away. And so that's very exciting.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Vito.
You're welcome.
have overkept you. We don't want to keep you any longer.
No
but
problem at all.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, sir.
You're welcome. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Yeah.